Holy crap, I've got 10 movies that I've seen that I have to review. I'm that backed up on movie reviews, so let's just get started. Alright, I think it was 2 Saturdays ago that I saw Goosebumps, Crimson Peak, and then I rewatched The Visit. So that was actually quite a fun night. Goosebumps is a family horror film that's very much like Jumanji. In Goosebumps, a kid and his single mother, they move to a new town. This kid is our main character, and he's played by Dylan Minnette, or is that how you pronounce it? I'm not quite sure. Anyway, they move into town, they live by this creepy neighbor played by Jack Black, who has a really nice daughter. The daughter played by Odeya Rush, who you might remember from The Giver if you've seen that movie. Our main hero believes that this creepy neighbor is dangerous to the daughter and feels like maybe he's a psychopath. Fearing for her life, he breaks into the house and discovers the guy has a bunch of Goosebump manuscripts. This is because the creepy neighbor is none other than R.L. Stine. And here's where it starts feeling a little bit like Jumanji, because all the manuscripts really have a Goosebump monster in it. And when you open up the book, the monster is released. The only way to stop the monsters is to force them back into the book. Unfortunately, one of the worst monsters imaginable from Goosebumps gets set free and ends up creating havoc as he brings to life all the monsters from the books. And it becomes a tale of banding together and trying to stop these evil forces from completely obliterating the town. I'm a fan of Goosebumps. I like the TV show. I like the books. Never read all of the books because there's just way too many Goosebump books out there. But the ones I have read, I have really enjoyed. I was really hoping for this movie to be really good, and thankfully it is a really fun movie. Now, it doesn't have the same feel as the TV series, but it does have the same feel, and there's something about it that even though it's not based off of any one particular Goosebump book, it has all the qualities of the book you would expect for a movie. It's fun, it's entertaining, it's quite funny, there's some nice twists and turns, and it has some moments where it truly is kind of creepy and scary. Now, if you're an adult watching this movie, of course you're not going to be scared, but if you're one of the younger audience, then yeah, you could actually get creeped out in Goosebumps from time to time. It has a nice blend of comedy horror to it. I was impressed with the two main young leads in the movie, Dylan Minnette and Odeya Rush. I thought they both had a nice chemistry, they both had a nice range to them, and they were surprisingly really good. I was also impressed with Jack Black a little bit because he didn't go too over the top like I would have worried. Yes, he's still over the top acting, but not over the top in the sense of Jack Black. Sure, there are moments where he does, but most of the time, it's like an over-the-top, subtle creepiness. I know that sounds like an oxymoron because it kind of is, but he does hold back from being like the crazy, yelling, rock star sort of guy he tends to be in other movies. Instead, he was a more really over-the-top, classy, creepy guy. Like, he was old-school creepy, and I was impressed by that. He also did the voice of Slappy, where he felt a little bit more Jack Black, but just more maniacal. And I felt it made sense that he would be the voice of Slappy as well, because Slappy is just an extension of R.L. Stine anyway, or how he would be in this movie. There was a lot of nice little twists and turns in the movie that I wasn't expecting. And just as all Goosebump books and the Goosebump TV series, there is a big twist at the end, which I thought, yes, this is typical Goosebumps, I love it. There's also a lot of nods to other horror films, horror TV shows, and horror stories. Now, some of it is blatantly obvious, like some of the references to Stephen King, but other times it's subtle to the point where I'm not sure particularly if they actually were going for that, or if that was just my mind thinking and relating to other horror movies, because there's this one moment where it felt like Nightmare on Elm Street. Yeah, there's this one moment where the Werewolf of Fever Swamp is closing in on our main heroes, and he's walking through these big trucks, and while he's walking down between the trucks, he's scratching the sides of them with his claws. That reminded me of something that Freddy Krueger would do, where he'd scratch the walls as he approaches his victims. It also reminded me of the first Freddy Krueger movie with his first appearance, because he had those really long arms as he's stretching them out to both sides. It almost felt like a nod to those, but that could be just me thinking and overthinking. And a lot of the humor really works for me, especially this one scene where these cops are investigating R.L. Stine's house. And just how incompetent these two cops are is ridiculous. I wasn't really bothered by the CG creatures like some others were. But unfortunately the CG creatures did create some ruckus in the theater behind me, because there was this kid, when it showed Sony animations at the beginning of the film, the kid was like, "What? This is an animated movie? Is this an animated movie? This doesn't look like an animated movie. Is it an animated movie?" Whole time through the theater just kept asking, is this animated film? Of course, that's not the movie's fault. I'm not blaming that. It's just it's a little crazy incident that happened in the theater. This freaking kid just would not stop talking. I think the only thing for me that I didn't like as much with Goosebumps is the creatures they use to be the main creatures of the film. Now look, Goosebumps is a huge series of books. He's got a ton of monsters in his books. There's no way that all the monsters are going to get the spotlight in one movie. Now most of the monsters that take front and center in the camera were monsters from books that I personally didn't read. And so I have no idea if all these monsters that they're showing are the most popular Goosebump monsters known to the fans of Goosebumps. If they are, that's great, but most of the monsters were monsters that I didn't feel like should have gotten the spotlight in the film, and maybe it could have been something else that I liked more, but everyone's gonna like different Goosebump monsters than everyone else. But for me, it felt like some of the monsters I know and love from the Goosebumps stories were either in the background when it showed all the monsters in the movie, or they just weren't there at all. Thankfully, I was the only one in the group to spot the haunted mask, but the fact that I had to search to spot the haunted mask was really sad. Overall, I had a really fun time with Goosebumps. It's not anywhere near a 5-star movie for me, but ultimately I'm still gonna give Goosebumps 4 stars. It's really fun, really great. Go check it out if you're a Goosebumps fan in any way. So did you see Goosebumps? What did you think about it? Go ahead and comment. If you haven't seen Goosebumps, then what is your favorite Goosebumps monster of all time? Or maybe just what's your favorite Goosebumps book or TV series episode? As always, this is Bruce Gifford, and this was just my opinion.